Welcome back to the Stick 'em Up podcast. Burundi, we are on episode 2 of our 4-part mini-series where we're going over each of the individual divisions within the NHL. This time, I believe we are going over the Central Division because we got a decent little bit of news on one of these teams in particular in the Central Division, which we'll get to when we talk about them, but same format as the last one. We're going to be starting at the top with the Winnipeg Jets because they finished first in the division. All the way till at the end, we will talk about the Blackhawks who finished 8th in the division. Burundi, do you want to kick us off with the Winnipeg Jets?
Yeah, so before we dive into the Winnipeg Jets here quickly, if you didn't watch the video, you can watch the video or listen to the episode earlier this week where we did the Metro. One of the teams we obviously covered, the Philadelphia Flyers. And the biggest thing we talked about with the Philadelphia Flyers is kind of the goaltending aspect of them and how it's kind of hard to predict where they were going to finish. Earlier today, we got some breaking news. I'm just going to pull it up here for the direct thing here.
Ooh, so the Flyers. I don't think I saw this.
So the NHL and the NHLPA have agreed that the 5 players that were part of the World Junior essay case, they will be suspended until December 1st. So once it is December 1st, they are allowed to play NHL games again. They're allowed back in the league. And
allowed to sign contracts.
No, because as of October 15th, they will have the opportunity to sign with NHL teams. So they're suspended from playing until the 1st, but once it's October 15th, they are allowed to sign a deal. So we know that
they can condition for a couple months before playing. Okay.
Because we know Formenton, he came out of retirement because he was the one who retired. He went back over to, I think, like Switzerland or something like that.
Switzerland or
signed
Finland,
for a little bit. So I think, by then he'll be able to come back over if he wants. And, the other 4, as of October 15th, will be able to sign. And by December 1st, they'll be allowed to play in the NHL again. So something to keep an eye on as well. In the coming weeks and in about a month, and see what happens with these players.
Very interesting. I imagine Carter Hart will be in high demand for several teams. I imagine the front runner will be the Philadelphia Flyers. I am interested to see if we see something different with Michael McLeod specifically, because he was the only one of the 5 that had multiple charges on him during that, which all of them were found. He wasn't found innocent, but he was found non-guilty, which means he was not charged with anything. I have heard some rumors, and so none of this is concrete, but he was on a team that is currently under investigation for a rather similar situation. I want to say it was a junior, like below the other level of junior team from, I want to say, 2014. I would definitely have to look into it. So, do your own research. Don't take my word for it. And again, the team he was on is related to this. He was not named, but I wonder if that ends up being a thing. I wonder if that plays into any of it. So, something to keep an eye on, because, we didn't really see much of this before, but now there's been like 5 different cases over the last 5 or 6 years that have spanned from, I think the earliest one was one of the Canadian junior teams from, what was it, 2002? Like there's all these teams that have been looked at that for these different things. So we'll see if anything happens there and which of these guys get signed.
Yeah, it's something to keep an eye on, but just wanted to throw that out there because, that's kind of some of the biggest news we've gotten in the last bit, and it does kind of tie into, a good chunk of what we talked about with the Philadelphia Flyers last episode. But to move along with this episode and covering the Central Division, we can start off with the Winnipeg Jets, and we'll just run the same format we did earlier this week. We'll count down from 3, and we will give our predictions, picks on where we think the team will finish this go-round. Braden, are you ready?
Oh, you know what? I forgot to do that part, but honestly, I think I can do the Central on the fly because
Central Nothing. I like that.
I think
I like that.
okay, I got it.
All right. The Winnipeg Jets in 3-2-1 third.
Second. Okay.
Oh,
You
a
got him down at third.
second.
Fair enough.
Yeah, it was a toss up for me. Obviously the Winnipeg Jets, who won the President's Trophy last year, barely squeaked out of the first round against the St. Louis Blues, and I mean barely. Um, Not much of an improvement, I don't think, from last year. Really, there wasn't
No, not really.
much in terms of
Some
big
young
additions,
guys
and
get older, but that's about
yeah,
it.
maybe take that next step. You did lose Ehlers, and good player, but wasn't really quite being utilized properly there. So how much does that, affect them?
Yeah. They did bring in Jonathan Taves, so we'll see how he
It's true,
performs.
actually. Jonathan Taves, absolutely, yeah. And they have the best goalie in the league still. Hellebuck back-to-back Vezinas, so I couldn't go any lower than third. As stacked as this division is, really for the most part, like the fact that one of these teams, at least that we're going to be talking about, probably should be in the playoffs, but will end up missing. It's a good division. It's going to be tough for them, but yeah, I don't mind you having them at second though.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's a very good chance we have the same team in first. And I imagine I know who you have at second. But yeah, they just seem to have more depth throughout their lineup that
Yeah.
puts them just above the third place team for me.
Yeah, I can totally get on board with that. We've talked about Kyle Connor. He's in a contract year, right? So
Probably going to put
probably a
up his
pretty
first
big season.
100-point season.
Yeah,
If I
it's
had to
probably a
guess.
pretty big season coming up for him. We know Mark Scheifele's going to be great. We know Josh Morrissey, Connor Hellebuck, Gabe Vilardi probably is even better next year. Cole Perfetti, he's a guy that might actually benefit from Ehlers leaving, as that kind of opens up a spot for him to take on a bigger role. We already know he's a great player and a guy that hasn't quite gotten those opportunities yet. They've got him listed of playing with Jonathan Taves, so as of right now, I don't know if that's going to happen. But
on the second or third line?
Second line with Nyquist, who 2 years ago pretty damn good for Nashville. Last year, not the greatest. So don't quite know what to expect from Nyquist.
Yeah.
How long?
Second line center for Jonathan Taves? Like, he was really good in his prime, but he hasn't played in 2 years. And his final 2 seasons, I mean, 12 and 15 goals, 37 and 31 points. Like, the Blackhawks were bad by that point. They were rebuilding and didn't have Bedard at that point. But, that's still not great production for a guy who just had a bunch of health things and took 2 years off. So second line might be a bit ambitious, but
that's the thing with Winnipeg, right? Because we know Adam Lowry's out. I can't remember quite how long he's out, but that was the biggest thing with Winnipeg. At the trade deadline last year was, vibes were good. They were top in the league, but they were kind of really in need of a second line center, and they tried really hard to get Brock Nelson. That didn't work out. They're going to try and pursue Brock Nelson in free agency. He didn't make it there, and there wasn't really much further options. So, that's a part that the Jets are probably going to have to figure out, unless Jonathan Taves really is just, looking like the old Jonathan Taves and can be that, that solid second line center that they need. If he can't, you got to find someone because.
Is Perfetti a natural winger? I thought he was a center prospect, kind of.
I kind of thought that too, but he's really only been used much as a winger on the Jets.
I wonder if he'd like to be to be playing center, and it's just one of those situations where he's young enough that they don't trust him at center. I know a lot of young guys, generally it's all the older guys who are really good at faceoffs. Like, it's one of those things where you don't lose faceoff skill very much, and you just build it over time. So I
Yeah,
wonder if he's not great in the dot. Adam Lowry had hip
possible.
surgery in late May, and it says they are targeting a late October, early November return.
Okay,
So
he'll probably
so
miss the
not
first
too far.
10 games or so, something
Yeah.
like that. Um, yeah, like you kept Dylan Sandberg, which is huge. Overall, I think it's a really good team. If someone has them finishing first, I can get on board second.
They just won the Presidents, yeah.
I just can't see below third. Like I put them at third, and
Below
I think
third is
that's the
borderline
lowest.
catastrophic. Yeah.
They would need to have a massive fall off. Connor Hellebuck would have to get injured. Kyle Connor, Mark Scheifele, Josh Morrissey, one of them would have to be injured long term. Like they would need a big injury, I think, for them to have any way finishing below third. Again, what is a stacked division, but
Yeah.
they can hang with the best of them still. So,
As far as individual awards go, do you have any players on this team that you could see winning some individual hardware this season?
I mean, you got to go Hellebuck for Vezina. I mean, that's
He just won the Hart, so
yeah,
he's got to be the front runner for the Vezina this year. Like it's when a guy wins a
yeah,
trophy 2 years in a row, it's kind of like it's theirs to lose, right? Like
yeah, absolutely. Josh Morrissey, I think, is kind of a dark horse for the Norris.
I could see it.
We all know how solid he's been the last few years, but again, when you're competing against all of those guys like Makar, Hughes, now maybe Fox again, Werenski, it's tough, but I mean, hey, there's
Someone's got
always
to
a
win it.
chance. For the forwards, probably not.
Do you think Kyle Connor has a better chance at the Rocket or the Art Ross?
Ooh,
Probably the Rocket, right?
that's kind of the way that I'm leaning. I think, yeah. If I had to pick between the two, yeah, probably the Rocket. I think, and I mean, it's maybe possible. Like we talked about, he's on a contract here, so if he goes out there and balls out, like we know he's a guy that can put up 50 goals in this league across the full season.
Yeah, it really depends how
I think
goal
it's
scoring
so.
goes league wide too. Like
Hmm.
he's been a 50 goal scorer in the past, and last season the only guy who had 50 goals was the guy who won the Rocket. Drysaitel had
Yeah,
what do you have? 51, 52, 53, something like that.
53, I believe. Yeah,
Like
that's a good point. Like only one
if
guy
it's a
hit
year
50.
again, if it's a year again where 54 goals gets you the Rocket, you know, uh,
Yeah,
Kyle Connor's within range of that. He can
absolutely.
tuck 54. So we'll see. Um, Definitely agree with Josh Morrissey on the Norris as well. Just because because I think it was 2 years ago where he really broke out, where he went from like a top 20-ish defenseman in the league to like most people have him in their top 10 or around that conversation at this point.
Yeah,
I could see him having a season similar to Werenski last year, where he he solidifies in the top 5 for quite a few people. I think we might be able to see a jump
absolutely.
like that for him. So
Absolutely, yeah.
it'll be interesting to see how they follow up last season because you know all the talk is always on the Leafs, right? On whenever you talk about playoff chokers, every other team that chokes in the playoffs, they all hide behind. Well, come on, everyone talk about the Leafs, right? But there's starting to be quite a few people who are like Hellebuck is the second or third best goalie in the league because those back-to-back playoffs were rough. And like, I mean,
Yeah.
he just won the Hart, but also, I mean, it's hard to argue. You gotta show up when it matters most, and he was
Yeah.
worse than Stuart Skinner in round one.
Yeah. Like he
Yikes!
proved that he can do it from what we saw in the Four Nations. I thought he looked great, especially in that final game.
Incredible.
But yeah, then he did not follow that up performance in the playoffs. Had a couple good games in the second round, but there just was no consistency.
Yeah,
And it's hard to win if your goalie's not consistent.
yeah, and he did win in a game 7, but I will say he got not just beat, I will say thoroughly out-goalied by Binnington in that game 7. Both the goals
Yeah.
that the Jets scored in regulation were some of the nastiest tips I've ever seen. I think it was that first goal that the Jets scored, Perfetti tipped, that was like, that thing was going wide by like 8 or 9 feet. And he like deflected it to go like roof over the shoulder. Like that's one of the most unsavable shots I've ever seen.
Mm.
And so yeah, I guess we'll see. Who knows? Maybe he goes out there and puts up a 940 in the playoffs, wins the Conn Smythe this year. But until it happens, it's
We're
one of
gonna
those
keep
players
talking about it.
it's difficult to judge. Yeah, they're getting to
Yeah,
that point
absolutely.
where there's starting to be a rather big amount of players that are in that camp of players and teams really, where it's like we can enjoy what they do. Fans of the team can enjoy what they do during the season, but at the end of the day,
Mhm.
every sentence ends with comma. But what about the playoffs? So
Yeah, that's exactly it. But we'll see what happens with the Winnipeg Jets there. We can move on to the Dallas Stars next. The Dallas Stars finished second in the Central last year with 106 points. Third straight trip to the Western Conference Finals where they lose once again. Braden, the Dallas Stars in 3, 2, 1
first. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would not be shocked
Makes
at all
sense.
if this team won the President's Trophy.
Yeah.
I definitely think they could. I mean, they finished second in the division. Was it, I think, third in the entire league last season? And I think they're a decent bit better than both the Jets and the Capitals, if I'm honest. So they only had Rantanen for a handful of games at the end of the year. They'll have a full season and a full offseason of training for him with the team. Like this team should be better than last year, which is crazy because, 2020 they go to the Cup final, and then the last 3 years in a row they've gone to the Cup or the Conference final 3 years in a row. So this this
On
team has
paper,
potential to go down right beside the San Jose Sharks as like one of the best teams to not win if they
if
don't.
they can't get it done in the
Like,
next, yeah.
because they look absolutely phenomenal every season.
On paper, they're probably the best looking team in the league. I think on paper, looking from the forwards to the defense to the goaltending, maybe not. Maybe you don't. Maybe some people don't believe that, but I think it's hard to argue that they're not top 3 at least. Then
I was gonna say I can't have them outside the top 3 if you're low on them. Like they're what are you arguing is bad on their team? Their third defensive pairing. I mean, whose third defensive pairing is great?
Yeah. Well, Carolina's. I think that was pretty good
Oh,
when we reviewed it.
Okay, fair enough.
But I mean, yeah, you're gonna have Mikko Rantanen for a full season. Saw great flashes of what he can do, and in the playoffs, a little bit inconsistent, but kind of one of those things now. He's settled into Dallas. There's no moving around, no being traded, no trade talks, no contract talks. He's locked in there. He's just good to play hockey now, and and that's his thing, right? So, hoping that I don't want to say a bounce back because it's not even like he really had a bad year last year, but you'd like him to be a 100-point guy. I think still,
Yeah.
after what you gave up for him and the amount of money you gave him, he's gonna have the opportunity with Rupe Hintz, Jason Robertson. Kind of sucks they lost Granlund, but you're able to you got Wyatt Johnston locked back in. Jamie Benn sticking around on a cheap deal. Matt Duchene's sticking around and locked in there. So, I mean, even their defense. I mean, Lindell, pretty underrated. Honestly, I think at this point we know how good he is defensively. Heiskanen, you're going to have back and healthy. Thomas Harley just keeps, his stock just keeps going up more and more.
The highest riser in stock since the start of the calendar year, probably. Like,
yeah,
Harley's just consistently been so good. Broke out at the Four Nations and just didn't stop playing. Like, it really felt like he was playing above his pay grade and that he would return to Earth, and then he just decided not to. Like,
It really does, yeah. And then even Leon Bichelle, he came in last year. Big body defenseman. He looked awesome too. So you have him for a full season, and of course you got Jake Ottinger. So, and Casey DeSmith, who pretty dang solid last year, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm pretty sure he had like some incredible backup numbers.
They got him for nothing, I think, because Vancouver just kind of had to offload him. They didn't have room for him anymore.
Casey DeSmith. He had a 915 last year in 27 games. 915 for 27 games at your backup? That's real
pretty
nice.
Good. That's pretty good. So you're probably winning more games than you're losing with your backup in. Yeah,
that's all you can ask out of
I don't have anything that I can really say negatively about the team. Maybe that right side of the blue line's not the greatest with, Labushkin in there and Lundqvist. You probably maybe want one of those guys to be on the bottom pair and the other to be your, seventh, but
sounds like a deadline problem for them.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And you got to move off the Matt Dumba deal that just did not work out as well. Yeah. So that was kind of nice work.
Yeah, Labushkin's not great in a top 4 role, but you put him on that third pairing, that doesn't look bad at all. So you bump him down, Lundqvist or whoever becomes a 7th D or a healthy scratch, and then you slot in whoever you can find at the deadline. Like that instantly, I mean, we're already saying they're one of the best looking teams on paper in the league. So adding a top 4 D like that really solidifies them for another deep run.
Yeah, I think so, and they're one of those teams that has a new head coach this year. We know Glenn Gullickson's now in there, running
that was
the show.
A hire from within, right?
I
think he was with
no, technically not, because back in 2009 to 2011, he was the head coach of the Texas Stars. He then got promoted to the head coach of the Stars for 2 years, and then went to Vancouver for 3 years, Calgary for 2 as the head coach, and then what's that, like 6 or 7 years, as an assistant coach in Edmonton. So, they're bringing a guy back who's familiar with the team, familiar with the organization, and they're bringing him from the team that they can't seem to beat in the playoffs. So maybe he's got a little bit of inside information he can use if they end up going up against Edmonton again in the playoffs, because it's a very realistic possibility at this point.
Frankly, looks more likely than not at this point.
Kind of feels that way.
But individual awards.
Individual awards. I'm
thinking, I don't think he's a favorite, but I think Ottinger is a dark horse for the Vezina. I think he's maybe not top 5, but he's probably around that 6th, 7th, 8th most likely to win the Vezina kind of guy. He's got good defense in front of him as well, so that obviously helps.
And good defensive forwards in front of him too. I like Mikko Rantanen. I don't really see Mikko Rantanen winning a Rocket or an Art Ross. I don't think really. He's still an incredible player, but just tough to see that. I think Thomas Harley's a dark horse for the Norris, especially if he's going to be on that top power play. We kind of saw him start to get that more once Heiskanen went down with the injury, and then even once Heiskanen came back, Harley was still getting more power play time on the top unit. So they obviously trust him and believe in him in that role, and if he runs with that all season, there's a chance he could put up some pretty decent numbers, and I think, again, probably not win the Norris at least this year, but I think start to get his name in the conversation where maybe he gets a couple votes or something.
Yeah. Do you think he's any more likely than Heiskanen?
Mm-hmm. I think he is. I think he's more likely to win a Norris than Heiskanen.
Yeah,
just in terms of the sheer offensive production that the Norris is kind of based on at this point.
Yeah. I definitely think most people still think Heiskanen is the better defenseman, and I think that's very fair. Heiskanen is fantastic. I'm starting to think Harley's a little bit better. I
It's
think
starting to become a conversation now, which
he plays
is
better
is
on the
impressive there
offensive
and
side,
already.
and he's comparable on the defensive side at the least. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with his conversation on the his next contract. Um,
Absolutely. Yeah.
Rantanen, I think, is almost identical to Kyle Connor for me in awards. I think he's a little more likely for the Rocket than the Art Ross. I think they're about as likely to win it, each of those two, which
Hmm.
isn't isn't a front runner, but they're around the conversation. So we'll
Yeah.
see.
Yeah. There's definitely a possibility, with Rantanen and being there for, full season out and everything. And again, the big thing is there's no outside distractions at all.
Yeah, especially if Robertson gets back to, I think the one season he had 106 points. If he can do that without
Hmm.
Rantanen, if he can get back to that style of play, that level of play with a guy like Rantanen and where Hintz is at now,
Yeah.
we might be looking at a
It's
new
possible.
top 3 line in the league.
I could see it. I could definitely see it. Next up here, Mikko Rantanen's old team, the Colorado Avalanche, who finished third in the Central last year with 102 points. Braden, the Colorado Avalanche in 3, 2, 1, second.
Third. Yeah.
So the same top three,
Yeah.
again for us, and I don't think that's a hot take or a surprise to anyone. These are
Most people are having those three in
three
the
great
top 3.
teams. Yeah. The Colorado Avalanche, just pulling up the lines here. Obviously a big thing with the Avs is Martin Necas. Is he gonna sign there? Or are they gonna be in another
Yeah.
Rantanen position where you gotta trade him and get a decent return, but you in the long run you still lose that deal? That would be a big loss. You do have Gabriel Landeskog back, which is huge, both in terms of his on ice and off ice presence. Having him around full time will be massive. You got to keep Brock Nelson, brought in Victor Olofsson, brought in Brent Burns, who could be, I think, decent value as a third pair defenseman still.
Yeah. I think he's a low key a really good ad for them because he's going to get pretty sheltered minutes. He's not going to have to bust his ass all the time. He's going to be put out there for offensive draws. He's not going to be out there too much in the D zone. Maybe he gets power play 2 time. I'm not sure who generally quarterbacks that. They have a lot of options on the
I
Avs.
I think it's either Taves or Gerard, one of the two of them.
Hmm. So,
But hey, you know what I mean? A guy
probably
like Brent
does it,
Burns
but
is,
option.
yeah, you have options and quite a few ones. Like I don't think there's a bad option you can go with there. What are kind of your thoughts with the Avs and where they're at now in the post Rantanen era?
I'm looking at them almost, honestly, almost a little bit similar to Tampa in the way that they they have those top guys still there. They're they have those game breakers. They have their guys on defense, and they're solid, but it just feels like there's a little something missing, and I don't exactly know where. Um, I think it's probably on that left side. I like Lehkonen, but is he who you want riding shotgun with Nathan McKinnon and Martin Necas? Like I like him, but you would much rather it be either Landeskog or Lehkonen with Nelson and Nichushkin, and then move whoever down to the third line, and then you bring in somebody great on that top left wing spot, and all of a sudden the entire team looks so good.
Yeah, I almost kind of want, like, you kind of look at it and kind of feel like Lekkonen's in that spot because he might be the only one that can kind of keep up with McKinnon and Natchez, who are kind of two of the fastest guys in the league. And then that second line, Landeskog, Nelson, Nichushkin, that's just three big, solid dudes. There's a lot of skill and a lot of size on that line. So you kind of got a speed line, and then you just got a big line. And I don't hate that, but again, yeah, I think you're right, though. Is that who you want alongside Nathan MacKinnon. I I don't think so necessarily.
It's not like McKinnon's point totals have been hurting because of that, but
Mhm. You want to surround
it,
him with the best possible talent.
yeah. When McKinnon's on the ice, just because he's out there doesn't mean he has to be the one making it happen every time.
Mhm.
Sometimes McDavid's out there, and you know Draisaitl slides it far side to Hyman, and he puts it in, and McDavid wasn't a part of it. Like,
Hell, even
you know,
sometimes Bouchard's making
yeah,
stuff happen back there.
like just that one more top six left wing piece, I think would elevate this team from you know upper upper middle of the pack in the Central to like a really solid left winger. I think that puts them just a hair below Dallas. Like now you're
Yeah.
entering that territory.
Yeah, I completely agree. I like what their bottom six is looking like. You're gonna have Logan O'Connor, Jack Drury, Ross Colton, Parker Kelly, who's been solid, Victor Olofsson, Kiviranta, Ivan, who's probably gonna be full time this year. Their bottom six is fine. I got no issues with it. They know their job. They do exactly what they need to do. It really is just that left winger in the top six because your blue line, Taves Makar, unreal. Gerard
Yeah.
Manson, that's totally fine. Sam Malinsky and Brent Burns, like that's very good for a third pair. So, and then in the net, obviously you got the two Woods, you got Blackwood and Wedgwood. That's great.
Yeah.
So
Incredible pickup Blackwood last season.
yeah,
So
it's really just that left winger in the top six.
and I
You
mean
know, they're
he looked
solid.
pretty good in the playoffs for all we know. That could be Landeskog. He might just come back and at this point with the whole offseason of training, he might just be that guy again. He might be able to play with McKinnon and Natchez and Lehkonen down because if he plays like we know he could 3 or 4 years ago, putting him on that top line, Lehkonen down, you know what? That doesn't
It's not
it's
bad.
not it's not quite like bringing in a 40 goal scoring left winger or something, but it's pretty close.
Hmm. Yeah, and a big thing is, can Landeskog go a full season? You know, is the wear and tear going to get to him? Is it going to be where, every 5 games you got to sit him for a bit or a couple road trips you don't bring him on because you can't do a full 82? Like, we don't know for sure.
Yeah.
We got to see him come back in the playoffs, and that in itself was incredible to begin with. Um, it's a long season, 82 games, and not as many breaks now during the majority of the season because they are taking, that two and a bit week break for the Olympics. So, teams I don't think are going to get those bye weeks that they've kind of been having. I don't think where you get, a full week off at some point in the season, or there's going to be a lot more back to backs taking place. It's going to be a lot tougher to
Yeah.
schedule for every team because of that. So we'll see how that plays. But yeah, overall, I think Avs fans should be very happy where they're at.
Yeah. If nothing else, you're watching the best defenseman in the world. You're watching at like lowest ranked. If there's another homer, a top 3, top 4 forward in the league in Nathan MacKinnon.
Yeah.
You've seen both of them get trophies. You've seen the team get a cup. So at the very least, they have that if things all go wrong. But either way,
Yeah.
I don't see a world where this team, unless McKinnon, Makar, or both go down, I don't see this team missing the playoffs. And
Yeah, no.
like
No.
they were still clinging on to a wild card spot when they had like no goaltending to start
Yeah.
last season. Like they
Yeah,
were,
absolutely.
it felt like they were one of the worst teams in the league while it was happening. But you look at the standings and they were still in it, like because they're just that
Yeah.
good. So yeah,
Yeah. Um, for awards, I think the biggest one is I think Landeskog. He's going to be a lock for the Bill Masterton. I think once he plays in at least one regular
probably.
season game. I don't think anyone's shocked by that. McKinnon, I mean Art Ross. He's going to be in those conversations all year.
Yeah.
I don't think Rocket, but still Art Ross and Hart, I think are both very possible for him.
And he's one of those guys where if he decides to, he could go win the Rocket. Like,
Yeah.
some years guys just have an agenda, right? McDavid was like, I've won a couple Art Rosses. He just went out and dropped 65 goals the one year and then went back to his regular goal
And just
scoring
went
and
back to dropping
assist
100
machine.
assists now. Yeah.
Like, some of those guys can do that. And
Absolutely.
Makar's got to be the front runner for the Norris at the moment.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I think Blackwood's a sneaky pick for the Vezina. I think being there for a full season, there's a chance that he could really rack up a good amount of wins. And as long as he can maintain a respectable save percentage, goals against, throwing a couple shutouts, and if the wins really pile up, is he likely to win? No. Is he a finalist? Probably not. But I think his name's at least going to be in the conversation throughout the season.
Yeah, I think he's around that, probably around that 10th most likely guy. He's had really good stretches, but hasn't been consistent through his career. But he's on a great team and was great last year, so I wouldn't be shocked to see him up in there.
Yeah, I'm absolutely. Is that it for the Avs?
Yeah, I think that's pretty much about it. Makar is on his second last year on his contract, so I mean, he's performing up to it every year. But if he wants to make every penny he can, put up a great season here and again, and
monster
then
season,
he's eligible for an extension after that. So
drop 100 points. 100
points, 30 goals. It's possible for a guy like him.
Yeah. Next up here, the team that's kind of the reason why we're doing the Central Division this episode, the Minnesota Wild. The Wild finished 4th in the Central last year with 97 points before going out to Vegas in round 1. Braden, the Minnesota Wild in 3, 2, 1, 4th.
5th.
5th and 4th.
I put up the wrong number.
Right. So right, kind of right in the middle of the pack.
Yeah.
I guess for me, 4th, and I think they make the playoffs.
I have them in 5th. I think they do make the playoffs. I don't think
they do.
I think it's probably only 3 from the Pacific.
Yeah,
I think they're going to be a very strong 5 seed as well. Like I think the
whoever
top
is
5 are going to be great.
Yeah, top 6 even in this division. Well, I guess the biggest thing with the Minnesota Wild, obviously, the news coming out, Kirill Kaprizov rejecting a 8-year extension at $16 million per year. That's not encouraging if you're the Minnesota Wild that he's turning that down.
$128 million contract he turned down. That's ludicrous. I'm just looking up highest paid NHL players career total. Cuz he might actually have just turned down a contract that would beat careers in the top 10. What did I say it was? 128 million?
128. Yeah.
If he made no money on any other contract, say he didn't have a contract before, no ELC, and signs nothing after, just that contract alone puts him right between Vincent Lecavalier and Steven Stamkos. That would put him at 8th all-time in earnings in the NHL on one deal.
Wow.
The most anyone's ever made in the NHL is Ovechkin at 161.7 million. And he would have been getting 75, 80% of that in one deal. And he said no dice.
Yeah.
That's got to be a little scary for Wild fans.
Absolutely it's got to. And I've heard rumors that apparently the Wild have asked Kaprizov to submit, a list of teams he would accept a trade to. I don't know if that's the case. They're kind of just rumors and stuff because this only came out yesterday.
Yeah.
But right now you still have Kaprizov. You're going to get great production out of him. I think at the end of the day, I think he does sign. I imagine if anything, he's probably just maybe wanting to get a little bit more money, or maybe doesn't want to be the first of these guys to sign. He wants someone else to. And if McDavid signs and he gets 20, then Kaprizov could at least be like, all right, I'll sign for 18 then. I'll sign for 18 and a half. And fair. Like if a player wants to get paid, absolutely, I will never fault them for that. But
that is $2 million per year above Draisaitl, who is the current highest paid player. So like, it's a lot that he turned down. I can't imagine he wants the dollar number higher. Like, I mean, everyone would, but I can't imagine reasonably he wants that. I think it's got to be a term issue. I think he must be looking for a 3, 4, 5-year deal. I don't think it's because he wants out of Minnesota. I think not only does he know that the cap is going to be going up quite a bit, where if he maintains this level of play or even improves by being healthy in the next 3 years, he can make $16 million for 3 years and then sign a $21 million contract at that point. And if he signs 8 years, so he does have 1 year left on his $9 million deal. This would be an 8-year extension. So that would take him for 9 more years before that contract ends. And he's currently 28. That would take him till he's 37. So, it could also be
not really another contract that you get at that point.
Yeah, and there might be, but if the Minnesota Wild don't win in those 9 years, your Ray Bourque style, your Jerome McGinley style, running around searching, hey, who can I latch onto and try and be a playoff contender and win a cup? Because if you don't get it there, you just kind of flounder and trying to find a spot. So I could see him just wanting a 3 or 4 year deal, just wanting not only for more money, but keep your options open as far as getting championships.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I could definitely see that being the reason there. But we'll keep an eye on it. By tomorrow, maybe he does sign, and maybe it's a 16 for 3 years, 4 years, or something. But all we can kind of do is speculate and wait until a deal is made. But with Kaprizov there, you've still got other great talent. Eriksson, Zuccarello's still solid. You've got Matt Boldy, who is quickly kind of becoming a really just underrated player. You got Marco Rossi still really there. Good. I don't know how much they care about having Marco Rossi back, but he's a great player, and you got him.
Yeah. Regardless of how they feel about it, on the ice, having him only helps you win. And at $5 million per season for 3 years, as the cap goes up, that's frankly an absolute steal. So
it's going to look really nice.
Even if you didn't really like the player, it's hard to be upset at that deal.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that. You brought in Tarasenko, so can he return to form? What kind of Tarasenko are they going to get?
Yeah,
it'll be interesting to see.
Kaprizov was a big part in bringing in Tarasenko. He really advocated. So that's not really something you do if you're looking to get out of there. So
yeah. Maybe he does the same with Panarin.
Pretty much every one of these guys we've named are all on fantastic deals too. We haven't named a guy who's, I would say, even getting fair money for their play. Out of all those guys, Boldy is the most expensive you mentioned at $7 million, and that's a bargain. Eriksson Ek is barely making over 5. Rossi's making 5. Tarasenko's at 4.7. Zuccarello is 38 years old, and he put up 60 points or something, and he's making 4.1. They've structured this team so well, and we haven't even talked about the defense. Brock Faber at 8.5 for eons. This is a really well put together team at this point, and
it really is.
I think if Kaprizov really wants to force himself out, I think he's doing himself a disservice if he wants to win.
I think they're really on the up here. Even in their bottom 6, Liam Ogren, I think, is going to be fantastic for them. He was the first round pick that they used in the Kevin Fiala deal. So Daniil Yurov, I think he's going to be he's a great prospect. I'm very excited to watch him play. Ryan Hartman, Marcus Foligno, Nico Sturm, Jakob Brennan, all big bodies that, fill out your bottom six perfectly. Like those are the type of guys
Yeah, makes it not a
you
fun
want.
team to play against.
Yeah. And then like you said on the blue line, Brock Faber. They got Jacob Middleton, who just keeps seeming to get better and better there. Minnesota, you've got Z Boyum, Jared Spurgeon, Zach Bogosian, Jonas Brodin. You still have David Juracek. Like, you got a lot of good defensemen there.
It's a really good team. Before Kaprizov got hurt, not only was he in Hart Trophy conversation, but the team itself was in conversation for the Presidents. They were
Mm-hmm.
There was times where it was like it feels like the Jets have this locked up, and then you look and it's like the Wild are only 3 points back. Like they were right
Yeah,
up there with them
they were in
in the
there.
first 30 games. So yeah, I it it's gotta be a term thing, I think, for Kaprizov. Because nothing he's said so far makes me think he dislikes the place, the team, or the area. And
Mm-hmm.
you can't tell me that signing with this team is bad for trying to win, at least right now. And they threw the bag at him. It can't be money. Like
Yeah,
the only thing that
I
makes
think you're
sense is
right.
term.
I think you're right. It is a term issue. And then the goaltending's Philip Gustafsson, Jesper Wallstead. Gustafsson we know is very solid,
Yeah.
and can hold it down. And Jesper Wallstead, this time last year was probably the number one goalie prospect across the league, and pretty rough year in the AHL last year. A lot of people are starting to get
Yeah.
pretty down and low on him, but I think his first year coming in and just being a backup and getting NHL reps, I think he'll be totally fine. I'm not
Yeah.
hitting the panic button yet with
Goalies don't
Wallstead.
take
So
a lot of time to season generally as well. He's 22 years old. Like he should be fine still, I think.
yeah,
And to have
yeah,
that be your 1-2 for on the crease and under 6 mil for both of them, that's pretty nice also. They've
that's
done
very nice. Yeah,
for a team that was for so long dealing with these massive buyouts on these two horrendous contracts. They sure have a tidy cap wages page.
yeah. They're in a pretty good spot now, and they're only looking to you know just continue to improve and get better. I can't poke any holes of spots I don't like on the team. Is there areas they can improve? Sure, but you could say that with any team. But I think where they're at right now, they're in a good spot, and it's good enough to be in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Um, Anything else you want to say before we do award predictions on the Minnesota Wild?
No, I think I'm ready for some award talk.
Oh, also one thing when you were talking about Marco Rossi, so they're not big on Marco Rossi because of his size.
Right.
Yet they literally had Matt Zuccarello for how many years, and they're watching him at his age continue to put up great points and dominate. It's like you literally have your Matt Zuccarello replacement, and you don't want him because he's a Zuccarello guy. Like it's. I feel like there just has to be something more when you get to watch living proof every game that young players can be some of your most effective guys, and
Yeah.
it's kind of weird a little bit.
Well, because you can't it's very hard to win building your team of all these small guys. You can't win in the
Mhm.
playoffs with a bunch of dudes like that. But
Yeah,
if you just have a few, that's fine. You got
that's
some
fine.
big freaking dudes in, Trennan, Nico Sturm, Ryan Hartman, Marcus Foligno, like Jared Spurgeon, Jake Middleton, Bogosian. They got some big bastards on this team. Like
Yeah,
I yeah,
it's kind of
Rossi
weird,
and
right?
Zuccarello are like the only guys that are really undersized. Kaprizov's not big, but he's not
He's not
small.
undersized. Yeah,
So I think he's like 5'11". So, and yeah, Zuccarello, like he's been great, but he's 38. Surely you're thinking at some point he's gonna hang him up in the next. I'll give him 3 years because he keeps proving me wrong. But
it keeps yeah keeps
I keep
define age.
I, I keep either expecting him to fall off or straight up forgetting he's in the league, and then he single handedly ruins my fantasy week or something like that.
What he does. Um, Awards. Um, I think Z Boyum I think is a he might be in the Calder race, depending on how much of an opportunity he gets.
I expect him to
On
get a
the
lot
power
of
play in
chances
5v5.
on the power play. I'm thinking is it crazy to say I think he's a top 3 guy for the Calder?
I don't think that's crazy, no.
Like,
No, I think it's very
at
possible.
least
Yeah, if he
before the
gets the
season
opportunities,
starts.
I think he'll produce. So
That
absolutely, yeah.
with Demidov just existing, he kind of locks up that number 1 spot for the
Yeah.
favorite, but I think
Yeah.
Bium is in that category that's right after.
Yeah. And then the big one, Kaprizov, I think he could win Art Ross,
Whatever he
Hart,
wants.
potentially Rocket. Yeah, he could have a great season. So I think
Yeah.
he'll be in there as long as he can stay healthy.
He almost seems more likely one of those guys that is more likely to win the Hart than the other two, because
Yeah.
if he wins the Art Ross, I think he's damn near got the Hart locked up. If he finishes 5 points back of the Art Ross, you know, who'd be winning the Art Ross right now, right? It's going to be Kucherov, it's going to be McKinnon, McDavid, maybe Draisaitl.
Yeah.
Say all those guys are sniffing around and Kaprizov's 5 points back of whoever's in first. Kaprizov, probably carrying his team a little more than the other guys are carrying their respective teams. So,
Yeah.
and
I
not to
would think
mention
so.
voter fatigue and all that. So,
Yeah,
I could definitely see him winning some serious hardware.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's you got to always include his name in there, right? Because he is, again, one of the best in the league. So we can move on from the Minnesota Wild there.
One more, because I'm going to put a little respect on him. I'm going to throw Joel Eriksson Ek in there for the Selke. I believe
that's actually not a bad pick.
I'm not sure if he's had a top 3 finish. I think he might have finished 4th in Selke voting 1 or 2 years ago. But
I think you're right.
He's one of those guys that I know he's good defensively, but I often forget how good he is offensively. And every time I look up his numbers, I'm shocked at, I know he's good, but like they're just a little bit higher than I expect. Last season he only played 46 games because he was injured, but 29 points in those 46 games, a plus 22 in half the season is pretty stellar as well. 2 60+ point seasons. He plays a little bit better with a Hart level Kaprizov on the power play. A couple more shorthanded goals. Maybe a guy like Barkov has a little bit of a down year. I wouldn't count him out.
I like that pick, actually. I like that pick quite a bit. All right, now we'll move on to the St. Louis Blues. The St. Louis Blues, who finished 5th in the Central last year, 96 points, only 1 point behind the Minnesota Wild, and put up a hell of a fight against the Winnipeg Jets. Braden, the St. Louis Blues in 3, 2, 1, 6. That was, it's tough. It's a tough division, and this proves it, yes, that the St. Louis Blues very well could finish in 6th place. I predicted Robert Thomas to drop 100 points. You've got one of the greatest coaches in the league. You've got a good team, and it might just get you to 6th place in the Central Division.
They might end up in 6th in their division and have a very comparable point total for the team to whoever gets the 3rd divisional spot in the Pacific.
Yeah, absolutely.
It wouldn't be incredibly shocking. Like, you got to assume that Edmonton and Vegas are probably the 1 and 2, whatever order in the Pacific. But after that, Vancouver?
It's that Vancouver, LA kind of.
LA? I think the Blues are incredibly compatible with teams like that, but this is just such an incredibly stacked division. And I hate being down on the Blues, especially having them 1 less than they finished last year. But these teams are damn good.
That means we both believe in one team taking a big step, which is cool to see. But yeah, I mean, the St. Louis Blues, right? Like they're a good team, and it's a great team that could miss the playoffs. You've got your your top guys in Robert Thomas, Jordan Kyrou. Can even throw Dylan Holloway into the mix there. Buchnevich, Braden Shen, Jake Neighbors, and then you've got great pieces around them like Nick Bukestad, Pia Suter you brought in. You've got Jimmy Snuggerud, who's probably going to be a full-timer this year and could potentially be a guy that wins the Calder.
Yeah, honestly.
And then the blue line even, Colton Parayko, beast. Cam Fowler looks like a stud there.
Yeah, if he could keep up his play from
Falk,
last year, that's going to be such a steal.
Yeah, they have a good team. It's a good team and it's coached very well. They run a great system there. They're just in a tough division.
I could see that Cam Fowler trade. Yeah. I could see this Cam Fowler trade ending up very similar to the Sean Monahan trade did for Montreal. Like they pick him up at the lowest of value. What'd they get him for? A third, I think, maybe a second rounder. Like it wasn't much. I think it was him for one pick. And then
yeah, I think it was a second.
He plays great for them in the regular season, even better in the playoffs. I think didn't he have like 9 points in their 7 games as a defenseman in the second pair? Like,
yeah,
incredible. And then if they end up moving him this season, if he plays well again, a good top 4, who could use something like that? Maybe a Dallas Stars. You retain half his deal for only $2 million, getting a guy like Cam Fowler on the second pair with a Thomas Harley. That would look real nice for him, and you get even more young guys back or some picks. Keep the retool going back, for some of those old guys.
Absolutely, yep.
One thing that I'm looking at on cap wages here that's kind of interesting to me with this team is that they have their stars, they have their guys that they trust to be their best. Kyrou, Thomas, Buchnevich, all those guys. None of them. Not a single one of them, Binnington either, none of them have a no move. Nobody on their team. Kyrou has a no trade. Thomas, Buchnevich, they all have a no trade. Braden Shen has a modified no trade. Parayko has a no trade. Falk has a modified. Fowler has a modified. Binnington has a modified. So some of these guys either have total trade protection or partial trade protection. But if they wanted to go Rangers style, if some guy fell off like crazy or something, maybe late in the deal, maybe soon, they could waive him. None of these guys have the full no move, which
that is true. It's actually very
I think
good.
it's a little bit of an interesting contingency plan that they have in place.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point there because like the Rangers have shown that's definitely an effective tool to move on from guys if there's not really much of a market for him. Is worth noting Philip Broberg and Dylan Holloway, the 2 RFAs that they scooped up from Edmonton last year in the offseason. They're on the last year of those deals, so they will still be RFAs at the end, so St. Louis will still have the rights, but those are 2 guys that could be looking to get a nice paydays. They both just look like completely different players in this organization, and I expect them to only be better this season. So, that's something that I think will be very huge for them. Jordan Binnington, you can feel whatever you want about him, but he's still a very solid goalie in this league and, show that he can hang with the best of them on any night.
Yeah, he's been Mr. Canada for
any
the past
stage.
7 months, so.
Yeah, and that's probably going to continue all the way through because the way he played in the 4 Nations, it's kind of hard to tell him, hey, you're not going to be the guy in the Olympics as of right now, unless something crazy happens. But I like where the Blues are at. Again, would it be tough for them to miss the playoffs after making it last year? Yeah, of course. But I don't think they're in a bad spot. I think they're in a good spot as a team, as an organization, but they're just also in a very good division because the Central Division is pretty stacked from almost top to bottom, but not quite.
From top to pretty close to the bottom.
Yeah.
And frankly, they've got 2 bottom feeding teams in the division. Nobody expected one of them to be down there. realistically, it's very possible that the Blues end up being 7th and a good team.
Yeah. Yeah. Like that's a crazy part, right? Like 7 is a possibility. They could finish, I don't want to say third, but they could finish 4th and make the playoffs. I'd be like, yeah, sounds about right. Or yeah, they
Yeah.
could finish 7th, and it's like I'm not shocked by it because just a good division all around. A lot of good teams here.
And Torrey Krug is also on their long-term injured reserve, so it sounds like he's probably not going to play again. So
Yeah.
they will get that cap off. One thing for those who did watch our recent episode on where we covered a lot of the LTIR stuff, we didn't realize at the time that if a player plays 0 games, I believe both regular season and playoffs, then their cap hit is reduced to the full 0 on the season. You only get it's only reduced by 3.8 million if they play part of the season and then go on long-term injury. So
yeah, or if they know that like they're gonna come back at some point. It's like they're only out for like a month or something type of thing.
Right.
Yeah, that actually is worth knowing, because we never actually properly touched up on that after the one episode.
Yeah, we were very excited to see what would happen with Pietrangelo and stuff in Vegas and all that, and unfortunately, they're going to get that cap relief. So maybe they'll end up with a Rasmus Anderson or something after all.
It's very possible. Anything left on the St. Louis Blues you want to cover before we jump into the awards for them?
No, I think that's about it. They're a young team that's just done a retool incredibly well. All their main pieces are still pretty young. I really thought Pavel Buchnevich was older. Maybe
the Rangers just gave up on him super early.
Maybe I'm confused. I've been confusing him with Vlad Tarasenko, but yeah, he's only 30.
So I got lots of miles left. Awards for the Blues. The only one I really got that I can put there is Jimmy Snuggerud for the Calder. I think he's kind of locked in, probably playing in that top 6. I think for the Blues, they're going to want to give him every opportunity to succeed. He's a fantastic player. We've already seen flashes of that at the NHL level. So,
yeah,
I don't think he necessarily wins, but I think he could definitely make some noise in that race.
Yep, I completely agree. I think, Braden Shen might get a couple of Selke votes, but like 4th or 5th place. I don't really even see him as a dark horse.
Mm-hmm.
Jordan Binnington for a gold medal at Team Canada.
Yeah.
We'll throw that in there.
Yeah, that's definitely one worth mentioning for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's about it for this team. But that's kind of expected with the team in a retool.
Yeah, I think that's exactly like the perfect way to put it. Next up here we have none other than the Utah Mammoth. Now, no longer the Utah Hockey Club or hockey team or whatever you want to call them. They are the Utah Mammoth. They finished 6th in the Central Division last year with 89 points, obviously missing the playoffs. I think this one's pretty clear where we're heading here. Braden, the Utah Mammoth in 3, 2, 1, 5th.
4th.
You have them all up though. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, because I had the Wild at 5.
Yeah, so I have Utah in 5th, and I think they make the playoffs. I think they do sneak in that second wild card spot. I'll throw you the floor here. Give me your thoughts on Utah. What are you feeling here? Because I know you're a big a big believer in the Mammoth. See, hey, jump up to 4 here. So
yeah, everything they've done since going from Arizona to Utah, I've loved so many of their moves. Very bold of a new team to be like, we want to improve immediately and go out and get a guy like Mikhail Sergachev. And, obviously they signed a Stanley Cup winner and Nate Schmidt in the offseason. They went out and got, what was his name? JJ Peterka.
Yeah, that was a big one.
Like, they were already a decent team, and they've been improving pretty steadily. And not only by bringing in better players, but just the guys they've already had continuing to improve because it's such a young team. Dylan Genther's been shooting at such an insane rate. Like his shot is one of the best in the league. I think it's really underrated. He's only 22 years old. Like he's so young. They got great guys on the back like Sean Dursey and one of the more underrated goalie tandems in the league, I think, as well. I wouldn't say it's one of the best, but I'd say it's knocking on the door in Karel Vejmelka and Connor Ingram. So
yeah, and they also have Vitek Vanacek in there now.
Yeah, they've even got a very
Stanley Cup winner.
serviceable. It's got to be one of the better third goalies in the league for sure.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Clayton Keller, 90 points last year, 91, 90 points, something like that. Probably takes another jump there. Logan Cooley, Dylan Genther, only getting better.
Yeah, Logan
JJ
Cooley,
Peterka's
21 years old. Like he's still so young, and like I think he dropped 60 points last year.
I believe he did, yeah.
Like he might be poised to jump up to point per game. Yeah, he had in only 75 games, he had 65 points. I think he's only 10 away at this point. I think the expectation basically is for him to be 82 and 82 at least.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked by that. And yeah, JJ Peterka is a great addition to that second line as well.
Yeah, and very similar to the Minnesota Wild. All of these guys are on just banger contracts, man. Peterka at 7.7 for the foreseeable future. Keller at 7.1 is highway robbery. Dylan Genther at 7.1. Like all the ones that don't look incredible aren't for a long term, and all the ones that do look incredible are for a long term. Like they're set up for a really good future. Logan Cooley is eligible for an extension, and if I were them, I'd be trying to lock that up before he breaks out this year because all signs are pointing to that's going to happen.
Yeah, I think you're completely right there. I think I think a lot of their guys are going to take that next step. The defense is solid. The forwards are solid. Like you have a Lawson Krause on your third line. Brandon Tanev you brought in on that fourth line to play with a guy like Stenlund and O'Brien. That's just a fun fourth line to get the team going. There's not really, maybe you could add something on the blue line a little bit somewhere, but overall, like you've got a lot of good solid pieces that you can run with and all still decently young, and that's what you're building around. And you still have a bunch of good prospects outside of the team here that are going to be making their way. You've got TJ Ginla, it's obviously a pretty big one there. Desnoyers, because you lucked out and you jumped all the way up to fourth overall and got another.
They were already on a great track, and then they jumped up 10 spots to get a top 4 pick, just missing the playoffs. That's so huge for them. Like,
is massive. They're in a really good spot right now, and if they miss the playoffs, yeah, it kind of sucks, but it's also fine because you're only going to continue to get better. But if you make the playoffs and you get some experience and show everybody that you're here now and you're going to keep making noise in this division, that's absolutely fantastic too. Yeah.
And also on top of all that, this doesn't really affect probably what they're going to be doing this year, but out of the next 3 years, they are missing their 6th rounder this year, and they have in the next 3 years 2 extra seconds, an extra 2 extra thirds, an extra 4th, and 2 extra 5ths. So they've also got great draft capital. Like there is no glaring weakness on this team. There's spots you'd want to upgrade, but honestly, the forward core looks pretty solid. Maybe a new second line center, if Barrett Hayton doesn't end up being quite that guy, but I think it's still possible for him. And then a top 4 defenseman, maybe another guy, John Marino. It looks like they're set to have Marino on the first line with Sergachev on defense. I assume that's because they want to spread Sergachev and Dursey out because those got to be their 2 best defensemen.
Yeah, so spread it out a bit.
Maybe another top 4 defenseman to bolster that depth, but it's a really good team that I could definitely see kind of surprising some people with how good they are.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Great team, and only gonna keep getting better. As, they are so young, and they still have so much young talent that like young top end talent that have even yet to make the jump here for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I'm at with Utah. Pretty happy with their situation, and um, just excited to see the Mammoth out there on the ice for the first time, and not just the Utah Hockey Club.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not really to do with what's on the ice, obviously, but just the way they've ran it in this first year of they just want to get as many people in the area into it as possible, having their like insanely cheap price stuff, like not comparable to anywhere else. Like
Yeah,
what was it? They had was it $2 hot dogs and $2 beers for like most of their home games the past
yeah,
season,
something like that. I think. Yeah,
and they were doing specials where there's like giant sections of the arena where you could get like I think it was like $10 $15 tickets. Like it was just like unreal sounding prices. It was like that that's how you get people in the door, right?
yep,
Like
absolutely.
so I think they're going to have a real passionate fan base with a lot of good-looking new jerseys now. I think this team is poised to, if not this season, very soon, really really make a big jump.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. In terms of awards for the Utah Mammoth, um,
Karel Vamelka for Hart.
really the only one, and it's an outside chance, but still a chance. I think Sergachev for the Norris.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think the talent around him
he's
is
a
only going
dark
to
horse.
continue to get better, and we already know how good he is and how good he is at running a power play, and um, I think there's a chance he could put up some decent points and maybe find his name in the.
Yeah, you know what? I could definitely see it, and I think that probably is the most likely for anything on this team. Clayton Keller's great. I don't think he's Art Ross level, at the very least, not yet. I think Logan Cooley has an outside chance to be an Art Ross guy at some point, but at 21 years old, probably not yet.
Yeah,
So I think
yeah,
that's about it for this team. But you know what? If they
love
have
where they're
any
at.
of their fun young guys come up and join the team in a meaningful capacity, there might be some guys that could cause a bit of a ruckus around the Calder, but it's a pretty strong year for the Calder as well. So
It is, yeah. It'll be very tough for that group of players, and um, but hey, looking forward to it. Moving on from the Utah Mammoth over to the Nashville Predators. The Nashville Predators finished 7th in the Central last year with 68 points. Damn.
that's not a lot of points.
That's not a lot, but we'll see how we feel about
That's
the
piss
Predators
poor.
here. I think we've got the same one here. 3, 2, 1, 7.
7.
I got them sticking there. I don't know what to feel about them. I don't know whether they're going to
I
be
almost wanted to be
good,
funny and
bad,
say 8, but no.
and that's it's possible. Like I don't know what to expect from the Nashville Predators at all after the way
I,
last season went.
I could see them anywhere from 2 to 8. Really, I could. Like they've got incredible talent on that team, and I actually went and watched them last year. For those who don't know, we live in Calgary, and I watched them come up because I wanted to see Stamkos play, and I got to watch Dustin Wolf's first career shutout because they did not score because my god, that team had no chemistry. You could see the talent, the chemistry was just abysmal. It's
Yeah.
like they weren't hadn't learned the same sport, you know? And it's funny
Yeah.
because you could tell, like, you could see guys like Yossi and Forsberg. They had chemistry. You could see it on the ice. But Stamkos wasn't fitting in, Marchessault wasn't fitting in, and this was early-ish in the year, but man, they have so much talent that just so little of it is gelling together. And now they're locked in on some of these contracts that are middling or quite a bit of money and middling term. Still, a lot of them have 3 or 4 years. Yeah, This is a very tough. This probably the hardest team in the league to judge. Maybe
It
outside of
really
Buffalo.
is. Yeah, right in there. Because I mean, again, like you look at the team, and the talent is there, the skill is there, the players are there, but it went so bad last year, and it's basically what you said, just no chemistry.
Yeah,
And across the entirety of the season, they never figured it out. So they're kind of running back the same group. So
they kind of have
you
to.
know how well is that going to work out if things don't work out? You know, are you going to offload O'Reilly, Stamkos, Marchessault? You know, do you just start blowing things up? I don't know the process they're going to go in.
Stamkos and Marchessault have full no moves too. Like
Well, I think
O'Reilly,
they
you
would
could trade.
waive though. I think Marchessault and Stamkos would waive if Nashville's
Well,
like, we're going to miss the
depending on where
playoffs
you
again.
want
What
to
kind of
send them.
shit? Yeah, but obviously, yeah, that would have. That's a big part of it. Is you know where they would go, and I'm assuming they would find a good destination for both of them. It's on paper, it's not a bad team. Like it's not like a great team, but it's not a bad team by any means.
It's top heavy, but without a ton of depth. But the top guys just didn't show up in the way that you want. Like in theory, going into last season, I would not have thought you were insane if you said Roman Yossi could have a 90, 100 assist season, not points, assists. Like if he's running a power play, who do I pass to score goals? Maybe Philip Forsberg, maybe Steven Stamkos. Oh shit, who's my third shooter? Jonathan Marchessault. Like he could just be dishing it to whoever he wants and they'll score. But that's all hypothetical, and they just weren't. So
They couldn't figure it out.
there is definitely a chance that they just come out next season and we figured it out, and they are great.
Yeah,
and they finished
they absolutely could
right by the Minnesota Wild or the Mammoth, and they get into the playoffs. But you figure that if that would have happened, it would have happened at some point last year. A season is quite a long time, and they didn't even get good in the final 10 games of the season, the last 20, and they were just too far out of it. Like, what were the points again? They finished 7 ahead of the Blackhawks. How do you only finish? That's 3.5 wins, man. The Blackhawks. Like, the only thing I know about this current Blackhawks team is they have Nazar to an extension, and I keep seeing black and white pictures of Bedard because he always looks sad. Like, and with all this talent, they barely finished ahead of them.
Above. Yeah, and you've got great goaltending in UC Saros. Like you've got your guy back there in Roman Yossi. Curious to see how Nicholas Hague and Nick Perbix fit in there. Look at this decor. You got Nick Blankenbergen, Nick Perbix, and Nicholas Hague. Like 3 of your 6 defensemen are just Nick. Interesting.
Yeah, maybe that's the strategy.
Yeah.
One team can have all the Elias Petterssons. One team can have all the Knicks.
Yeah, true. But yeah, overall with Nashville, I really don't know what to expect from them. They could do great, and I'd be like, okay. But based on last year, I don't want to put too much faith into them because
it's hard to.
Blew up in my face last year, so you're not going to fool me twice, Nashville.
Yeah, I do think they do a little better. I think they.
I think so. I think it's hard to do worse.
68 points. The bar is pretty low, but I think they do a little better. Mid 70s in points, aspirations for 80 that they probably don't get to. But man,
just any kind of improvement or something. Yeah.
I genuinely don't remember. How did the Predators do 2 seasons ago? What?
They were in the playoffs. They played Vancouver in round 1.
So they were in the playoffs, and then they went out and got all these top guys. Yeah, and they got worse.
Like Stamkos and Brady Shea.
That's just crazy. Like
it's hard to make sense of it. It really is.
There was legitimately people. I don't think either of us did, but I think there was some people who last season had them winning the Presidents in their predictions because they were in the playoffs, and then they bought all great guys. Like it's just bizarre.
And
so
they're running back the same coaching staff this year. We'll see if they make it through the entirety of next season or how long they last, that's obviously always going to be a big talking point until Nashville starts to consistently win and be a top team again. Right now, yeah, I mean, you've got some fun young pieces, Evangelista, Matthew Wood, Svechkov looks like he could be pretty decent. You got some entertaining aspects in it, Michael Bunting, Michael McCarron, Zachary LaRue causing shit, like him and Bunting on a line could be
There's a
wild.
relatively big team. They're not a very fun team to play against, which is funny because their smallest guy, I assume, probably by a decent margin, is UC Saros in net.
And Michael Bunting. Feisty, but not a...
Oh, is he a small guy?
I'm pretty sure, right? Let me look it up here. If he's not, I don't know who I'm thinking of, but I'm pretty sure it's...
Michael Bunting.
No, actually not really.
6 foot. 6 foot and 186 pounds. It's
that's
average, maybe a little lighter than the average NHL player.
Yeah.
He certainly plays bigger than that.
And he looked decent in Nashville. I mean, in the 18 games he played, 9 points, was only a -1.
Only that's a -1 in 18 games is pretty good on the team, as they were last year, frankly.
Yeah.
Who knows what kind of player this guy is? Maybe if he stayed somewhere, we'd know. In the 2020 season, he played 21 games with Arizona. 21, he played the full season with the Leafs. 22, the full season with the Leafs. Then he got moved to Carolina for 60 games. Traded to the Penguins halfway through the season at the deadline, I think, because he was part of the Gensel trade. Then he played half the season with the Penguins last year and then moved to Nashville. He's only got consistent time in Toronto.
Yeah.
And that was for 2 seasons.
Yeah,
he had over 100 points in those 2 seasons in Toronto.
Decent player for them. So overall, I don't know what to think with Nashville. In terms of awards, I'm just gonna say no, because like you could be like, yeah, Roman, Yossi, Norris, Saros, for Vezina and so on, but realistically, probably not, unless the Predators are back to their winning ways.
Yeah. On the chance that happens, I'll say Roman Yossi for the Norris. Hell, you know what? Before that, I'll say Roman Yossi for the Hart. If this team gets back in this competitive division into the playoffs, I don't think it's Nick Hague, Nick Perbix. I don't think it's Brady Shea dragging them there. I think Roman Yossi would be a massive part of it if they did. So he's one of those guys that I can see a world where Cale Makar wins the Norris and Roman Yossi wins the Hart anyway. He's the second best defenseman in the league, but he was too important to his team to deny.
Important, absolutely, yeah, because someone's going to have to step up if they're going to want to pull themselves out of the basement here.
Yeah, and if it's not that, it's one of their 3 snipers winning the Rocket probably. But somebody's got to do the passing.
Someone's got to do something. Wrapping it up here lastly with the Chicago Blackhawks. The Blackhawks finished 8th in the Central last year with 61 points. Everybody knows where this one's heading. 3, 2, 1, 8.
9th.
Oof. That's rough.
Yeah.
That's rough.
Expansion teams coming in and taking 8th from them.
And taking over.
Yeah.
It's possible because the Blackhawks are still... I don't even want to say they're one of the teams that feels like they're coming out of the rebuild, because I mean, I guess kind of, but like they're still in a what feels like in a pretty rough spot.
They're wanting to come out of the rebuild, but I just don't think they're at a point where they can yet. Like,
yeah,
I think they really do genuinely want to, but they just can't. They just can't yet. They don't have the talent. They would have to make some more moves and get some bigger players, get some actual like big name guys, I will say this is the one other team that I have heard Kirill Kaprizov linked to. I don't know. I think it's a lot of rumors. I think it's a lot of rumors that happened early last season. People were talking about it. So like nothing really substantial, but
yeah,
it sounds like if he wants to go somewhere else, that's one of the places. And as much as he might want to play there, Chicago wants him way more than he wants to go there. Because my God,
Yeah.
would they love to put a guy like Kaprizov with Connor Bedard?
Yeah,
That'd be perfect.
absolutely. Yeah, last season obviously pretty rough for Chicago. Kind of a silver line that they were able to move on from, the Seth Jones contract. It just things weren't going well for Seth Jones or the team. So to move on from him, and you get a Spencer Knight back, so you have your goalie of the future now locked up. Like that's your guy at least. That's one more piece they needed.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and that's big for them because that is one of those things that does to me actually say like they're trying to win more. Like getting a goalie is the best way to immediately improve your odds of winning many games in a season. And Spencer Knight, he's had a bit of a rough time as of late, but it's not been horrible. He's just been behind Bobrovsky in Florida. And, you know, he got drafted a while ago, so people are like, he's a bust at this point. But no, he's 24. Goalies take longer to develop. Like plenty of great goaltenders don't get into the league till they're 27. So I could definitely see him being their starter for a long time. If he
Absolutely.
plays well for the first 30 games of the season, I wouldn't be shocked to see a December or January extension for him.
Yeah.
Just lock him in long term.
Yeah, because that was a
And
big piece that they needed. And again, it's kind of one of those perfect things for Chicago. You move on from a pretty bad contract that wasn't getting any better to filling what at the time was your biggest need, and that was goaltending. In the forwards, I mean, you brought in Burakovsky. I'm not moved by that because I don't know exactly quite how he's going to fit in there. Could work out really well, could be bad. It's tough to tell with this forward core.
it's
Their
the land of the
decor,
middle six forwards, man. Like
that's exactly what it is.
Bedard's the only guy who should be on a top line there. And then you've got middle six forward type players in Bertuzzi, Burakovsky, Teravainen, Foligno, probably more of a third line guy at this point. Jason Dickinson, Ryan Donato had a great year last year, but you'd rather him not be on your top line. That looks
Yeah.
pretty rough. Ilya Mikheyev, like all these guys are good, but you know, you don't need depth. You need guys at the top to play with your top guys. Luckily, it looks like Frank Nazar is probably going to be that guy next season for them. If not at least you have a solid second line center. But
Yeah. Yeah, you got to figure out if you want to play them together
yeah,
or
you
separate them.
you gotta get somebody for Bedard. Honestly, I think in the future their plan should be their 1-2 is Bedard, Nazar. I think for this season, put them together. Figure out who works on the wing better and do it. Just because they both need talent to play with, and they're kind of all they've got. And
Yeah.
who do they play with? Donato, if he keeps it up from last year. If not, Tyler Bertuzzi.
Yeah. I mean, and their defense, like, is really. I think it's going to be good in a couple years because you've got Alex Vlasic, Sam Rinzel, who I think is going to be Lev Shinov, Del Mastro, and then you still got Kaiser and Connor Murphy. Like, it's going to be really good in a couple years, but it's still just so many young defensemen, and it's tough to be a young defenseman and playing the majority of games in your own end, and constantly just getting hemmed in, beaten down on the forecheck from the other teams. So again, I'm really high on Lev Shinov. I think Del Mastro, he's going to be a fine piece back there for him. But it's just a lot of inexperience on that back end.
Yeah, you're not kidding. Their average age of their defense core, their top 8, is 25 and a half years old. That's got to be the youngest in the league already. That is also including the LTIR retired contract of Shea Weber at 40 years old. So the actual average age is probably closer to like 24 or something like that. Like they've got range. A 40-year-old bringing up the number by quite a bit. So yeah, they've got to go out and get some. Like I just can't believe how few moves they made in the offseason. Like all these middle 6 forwards that they were grabbing. Instead, how about you grab a top 4, a fringe top 4, a top 6 defenseman. Grab a couple of guys that can help on the back end, and
grab a Grizzlick who's still out there.
He's still out there. They should grab him right now. Like
Yeah.
And instead of signing all these middling forwards, they needed to at least take a swing at a guy like, a Nick Ehlers or something like that. Even if, Nick Ehlers, I got to assume most players do, wants to win, but he also probably wants to make money. I wonder if he would have taken a 1 year, $18 million. Like you got so much cap space that's burned a hole in your pocket. They've got 18 mil in cap space
Yeah.
after the offseason. Like they keep saying
Yeah.
that they're trying to surround Bedard with these guys, but
They're not showing that. Actions speak louder than words, and the actions
yeah,
have not backed that up yet. And
yeah. At best, they're getting second line guys to play with their first line center, which
yeah,
isn't.
that's exactly it. I'm excited to see Oliver Moore play. Frank Nazar, I think, is going to take that next step. Bedard, you got to find what works with him and to help elevate his game, because he's not going to be too happy there if they keep losing and he's not even able to produce because doesn't have proper talent around him. We'll see what happens here. I don't love where Chicago's at currently, but it definitely could be worse.
Yeah. Yeah. Luckily, like they're in a really bad spot, but that's at the moment. They've got the young guys. They just need to make sure they don't screw up their development to the point where they don't become what we know they can be, because we know Bedard can be the franchise guy. We know Nazar can be a top 6, probably a top line guy, in my opinion. And all the defensive guys you named already, like they've got so much promise. Somebody's got to help them get there, and
putting some winning ways into that team in that locker room.
And they lost some great winning minds in this offseason with guys like Patrick Maroon and Alec Martinez.
Yeah, good
both
veterans
retiring.
too. Yeah, absolutely.
How many cups between those guys?
6.
Yeah, 6. Like, there's not a lot of guys with 3 cups in the league, and that was 2 of them.
Yeah. Awards. I'll throw out Sam Renzel maybe for the Calder, but again, what is a pretty stacked Calder class, and Renzel not really having the best talent to work with on that team is going to make it tough. But I'll throw it out there for a long shot.
I'll also throw out Connor Bedard for the Masterton. He looks really sad playing there, so
yeah.
I don't know. Maybe they take pity on him. But yeah, not much going on there right now. But they got to see 3 cups in 5 years.
So. Yeah, so they're fine over there. They can survive just a little bit longer, I think. But that does bring us to the tail end of this episode, covering a preview of the Central Division for the upcoming season. If you want to let us know your thoughts on where you think these teams will finish, if you agree or disagree with picks, you can do so through any of our socials. They are all down below across all episodes, across all platforms. Braden, it is that time at the end of the episode where I must ask you for your finals.
Yeah. It's going to be real fun to see who finishes where in this division. You can have Jets, Stars, Avs in any order in the top 3, really, and I think it makes sense. The Wild, the Blues, and the Mammoth, any order in the 4, 5, 6 range. The Preds could jump up into that spot. It doesn't look likely on last season, but maybe.
The talent's there.
It's a volatile division that could see a bunch of changes. It could be the exact same next year. So I can't wait to see where it shakes out. But I am high on the Mammoth, having a really good first season.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the Mammoth next year for sure. Out of more than I think these other teams, just because it's new and exciting. But that will do it for this episode. Once again, hope you all enjoyed. Everybody enjoy their weekend, and as always, we will see all of you out on the ice next week.